I just saw something wild out here that I needed to share with you. So we got a quick impromptu video on something that's a little bit out of line with the Denver market. So I watch all these numbers, every day like a hawk, and sometimes something just pops out at me that makes you go, hmm. Okay. So if you watch my monthly updates, prices are starting to drop, and that's all cyclically happening as it does every single year. What's crazy though is how many houses are coming off the market that are no longer for sale. Okay. So this is what I just saw. Let me share this with you here. And it's a little hard to get a lot of this data real time. All the data is delayed. What is not delayed is the properties that are on the MLS currently. Okay. So I have to do a little bit of math here. And I wanted to see, okay, it's October 9th right now. What's going on over the last, month and a week, right? Over the last 40 days since September 1st. How are things looking? How are things feeling? The election's coming up. A lot of people head on the break, stuff like that. But what I wanted to see is how many were coming on the market since then. So and there's a reason why I'm doing it like this. How many are active coming on the market in the last 20 days? So we got 4,235. That's this little number at the bottom left. Okay. And then how many from 21 to 40 days? And the reason why I have to do that is because it's more than 5,000 results and the MLS doesn't give me a number. So, anyways, I just got to add these two up. So 3218. Okay. 4235 plus 3218 plus 3218 equals 7,453 units to come on the market. And this covers all the front range and everything. All right. So just keep that in mind. 7,400 new listings to come back on the market. Okay. So how many have gone off the market in the last 40 days? Withdrawn. All right. 1,435. Okay. Great. Now, when you're withdrawn, that means you're temporarily off the market. You're not fully expired yet. You're kind of still for sale, but you're just not showing up in anybody's search results right now. Maybe you took it off to repaint, do carpet, update it, something like that. Just give yourself a break from showings and stuff like that. And yeah, so in the last 40 days, there's been 1,400 to go withdrawn. Expired in the last 40 days have 3,222. That's 4,600. So combined between withdrawn and expired, that's 4,600 combined houses, condos, townhomes to be pulled off the market that are not currently for sale. So not only, yes, there's less coming off than went active, but this is not usually anything that's even close to these numbers, right? It's more than 50% were removed, then came onto the market. What makes this wild? So if you watched my last monthly update last week, you saw that the amount of active listings went down from 19,500 down to 18,700. Well, so we have 18,700 current active listings as of the end of September, but we had 4,600 come off the market. I mean, what's that math? 25% of all active listings were removed from the Denver real estate market for you to be able to buy as a buyer. So what does that do? What in the heck is going on here? Well, there's kind of a couple of things taking hold. And what happens every single year, spring is the best time to be a seller, right? And everything's the most active, but most people think of spring as June, okay? They think of it as May, June. By the time Mother's Day hits in May, you're already starting the downward trend, but the numbers are still going up. Why? Because everybody who's closing in June and July got their house under contract at the beginning of May or before, okay? So all the numbers are delayed, but all you've ever heard in your life from the mass media is that summer is the best time to sell. Well, then July hits and everything comes to a screeching halt. And then the election happens. And now we have been down so much in sales over the past few years. you have this kind of other effect that's happening in addition to high interest rates kind of freezing everybody in their house, right? If you got a 3% interest rate, you don't move unless you have to move, unless you have a life changing event. Family member passes away, you inherit your parents' house and you just don't want anything to do with it. And even then, you may not sell it because you can still probably rent it out for way more than what the current mortgage is. Like there's lots of reasons why someone would not sell right now. In addition to there not being a whole ton of buyer activity happening right now, coupled with the election. And then you have this other factor that you guys don't really hear about, and that is the salesman promise. Okay. That's what we're going to call it. Um, how many agents are in Denver? There's over 40,000 agents in the Denver metro area. There's about 3 million people in the Denver metro area. So more than 1% of everybody that lives here is a real estate agent. I mean, that's comparable to government employees, right? And back a few years ago, before we even started having a reduction in closings, only 50% of every licensed real estate agent had one single closing in a 12-month period. Okay. That's typical. Why? Because the barrier of entry is low, unfortunately. It costs about $2,500. Took me about 4 weeks to get my license. Doesn't teach you squat about the business or how to actually represent somebody in the purchase or sale of a house. Anyways, what happens is that we're down 50, 75% in closings from the last couple of years, okay, from like 2022 when it was all craziness. And real estate was sexy and it was easy and it was fun and everybody could make $1 million doing it. Now it's not so fun. Now it's not so sexy. There's a couple of different ways that people think they should interview real estate agents for the job. And the biggest way that people interview is, well, what do you think it's worth? Right. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time it doesn't matter what I think it's worth, right? I have a good benchmark, and 99% of the time I'm within 1% of what properties actually sell for. But that's besides the point. It is your house. Our job as an agent is to represent you as the seller or as the buyer. But you talk to five different, agents and you say, hey, what can you sell my house for? What can you sell my house for? And your house maybe is worth 600,000 all day long. And then someone comes in and is like, dude, 650, no problem. Here's why, right? And what do? You sign on the dotted line, probably because it sounds like a good, a good song and dance. And you sign on the dotted line for 650. And then a couple weeks go by and you have one showing. And then more time goes by and nothing happens. So you have one of two choices. You either do nothing and just say, you know what, this person told me I could sell at 650. That was my expectation. I'm not going to drop the price. So let's just take it off the market. Hence what we have going on in the market right now with withdrawals and expired. There's lots of tension. There's lots of friction in those relationships. I don't do those. I would rather have you work with somebody else if that price is way out in left field. But you're still in charge of setting the price, right? And so the other way you can interview agents is to, you know, have to really find out what they do for marketing and how they're going to assist you. And then what lots of good agents, I hate saying that phrase, but good agents will ask you, what do you want to sell it for? Oh, well, I want to shoot for 650. Okay, great. Here's the reality, right? Everything's selling for 600,000. Okay. The likelihood for you to get 650, maybe 5%. Okay. Now, if we shoot high and we miss, ultimately, you're likely going to close below 600,000. You're probably going to close at 575. So, is that upside risk worth the downside risk? Okay. Totally your call. And if it's close enough within the realm that we don't think we're going to waste time or we're going to waste money because we're going to spend a couple $1,000s on marketing this property, right? If we don't think it's going to be a total waste, and hey, you're looking to sell, you're not just looking for a pie in the sky number, but you want to shoot for higher. Okay, sure. Like, well, let's take a whack at it. If the relationship is there and we're feeling good with each other, we know we're kind of shooting high, but then the reality is, hey, likely it's going to sell at 600 or below. Okay, cool. As long as everybody's on the same page, let's go for it. But that's not often what happens. So either A, you get frustrated that your house isn't selling at 650 like this person said they could sell it at, and you end up withdrawing it or expiring it, or you just end up dropping your price slowly over time. And this is what most agents are banking on, okay? Because next to marketing, right, putting it in front of every single eyeball in the world that's looking to buy a house in your neighborhood, your city, whatever, um, beyond that, we don't have a whole ton of control. Yeah, we can follow up with showings and get feedback and find things out. And should you paint it? Should you carpet it? All this stuff. But in reality, your house is going to sell for the right price no matter what you do to it. Okay. There's a price for every house in the world. You just got to find out what that is in your current market. And you might not like the market. So plan B is to just drop your price until you get there. And being that us agents know that once you sign on the dotted line, you're in this together until you bail out of the contract. And that's if they're going to let you out of the contract, right? So as there's less closings, there's less sales happening. Unfortunately, we're salespeople, and a lot of us just say whatever the heck we can do to get you to sign on the dotted line. That way, there's a potential for a payday. Okay. And that's the reality of what we're seeing out there. We're seeing lots of frustration that on over promises and under deliver. And people are taking their house off the market, coupled with higher interest rates and no one with a 3% interest rate wanting to move. And then you put the election on top of it, and woo, it makes for a real stagnant feel out there. Okay. Everything's just kind of treading water. Things aren't flushing in price. Things aren't shooting up in price, but everything is just steady Eddie, and it's a real creepy vibe out there. So a lot of people are taking their house off the market. Okay. I just wanted to share these numbers with you because they're the biggest amount of withdrawals expired I've ever seen in 15 years in this business in Denver. And I think you should know it and what you're up against. So I do think there's a good opportunity to be a seller, coming in the next handful of months here, because there's not a whole lot on the market still, and even more people are taking their houses off. So if you're realistic, I think there's a good opportunity. I think spring is still going to be great with interest rates continuing to drop. We've got a lot of pent up demand. We got a lot of millennial buyers out there wanting to do the thing. We have a lot of lateral movers, move up, move down, downsizing buyers, sellers out there wanting to make a move. And if we get interest rates low enough, I think that'll shake things up and we'll have a good spring season. So once again, if you got any questions, let me know. You can scan this QR code. You can get in touch with me. You can call me. You can text me, whatever you need to do. And until the next time, happy housing.